thing, if it's a first date and someone feels that way, you know what? I mean, that's likely to be a lot of projection there,
yes,
right?
projection.
It's a fantasy
They're on
of a
their
guy.
best behavior too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the best of that person.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've all had clients with challenges, right? But I think one of the hardest challenges that I've ever faced as being a matchmaker is having a client fall in love with someone and that someone doesn't fall back in love with the client. So what would you advise to someone who's fallen in love with someone and it's never been reciprocated?
Can I go?
Absolutely.
It's not love.
Oh.
It's not love. How can you fall in love with someone who you haven't had a relationship with? It's infatuation. It's the idea of a relationship. And who the hell wants to be in love with someone who's not in love with you back?
Well, what do you do? So let's say it's not love, right? Let's say it's lust, right? But you go on that first date and it's like, he's the perfect guy, you know? He's the perfect guy. But he doesn't call back.
First of all, you don't know if he's the perfect guy, right? But what I tell my coaching clients is that you want a man who's excited about you. He's excited about you exactly as you are, with all your imperfections, you. Who wants to date someone who's not excited about them?
Sure.
Because if you're dating someone who's excited about you, you might end up marrying someone who's excited about you, right? Seriously.
Right.
I mean, you want to wake up every morning with a man who looks at you and says, you're the one. So if you're dating someone who's not enthusiastic about you, let him go find someone else he's enthusiastic about. Thank you.
Sure. But now here's the thing. I completely agree with that. But how do you handle that? So as a matchmaker, how do you coach someone through that hardship?
Well, I'll say kind of segueing into that, one interesting thing is the men that I'm matchmaking, they'll like somebody, they'll go on a date, she's fantastic, but I don't know yet, so let's throw someone else into the mix and I'll have another introduction. Whereas the women, often they'll call me, hey Marla, my date with Brad last night was absolutely fantastic. He's the one, you don't need to match me up with anybody else anymore. It's like, you had one date.
Yes.
Date like a man, go out with some more people, and that way you don't have that charge on that one person, your hopes placed on that one person. If he doesn't return the feelings, it's like, oh, well, I've got a date with Mark next week and Scott next week, and you can keep that energy flowing. So that takes a little bit of the emotions off it, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Showing their options out there, exactly right. I think that's one of the best ways to help that client is to show them how many options there are out there. The abundance of great guys. For this guy, if it's a woman, the abundance of great guys out there.
Okay. All right.
Options is key, and realizing their options out there
Keep themselves busy and engaged and excited in life and everything, so they're not just putting their hopes on this one person.
Because, and actually, the other thing, if it's a first date and someone feels that way, you know what? I mean, that's likely to be a lot of projection there,
yes,
right?
projection.
It's a fantasy
They're on
of a
their
guy.
best behavior too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the best of that person.
Absolutely. To what Michelle said, it's not quite love there at that early stage,
but
right?
it's lust.
Projection.
So let me ask you this. Let's say that it's not just one date. Let's say it's 3, 4, 5 dates, and the man in this case fizzles away, right? And an emotional connection has already been established. Then how do you coach your client?
So I'd like to answer that, because I don't think that the most critical, heartbreaking emotion in the history of the world is rejection. And if you're talking to somebody who's been rejected, no matter how many options we tell them, and it doesn't really matter. They have to endure that pain and that loss. And rejection is a very, very difficult piece of our whole business.
Absolutely.
So to give that person some space to talk about how they feel, having been rejected by somebody, it doesn't mean it's going to happen next time, but that you really appreciate what a hard thing it is for them to have to go through right now.
Wow.
Especially if it's somebody that they, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter why they thought that person was for them.
So the question around what happens when a client falls in love with someone else on a first date, we know is a bad question, because you can't fall in love, but you can fall in lust. But what you can do, and the only thing that you can actually do, is let that person know that you were on that date with, that you are interested in them, that you had a great time. That is the best and most effective strategy you can have.
Exactly.